There's a Republican senator by the name of Mike Braun, and he was asked a question by some of the local papers. Hey man, what do you think about this abortion case that the Supreme Court is hearing? You know, there's Roe versus Wade is definitely on the ropes, and you have a lot of states that are really going hard with this anti-abortion legislation, trying to ban it sooner and sooner. Some states, it is kind of effectively banned already with these what's called TRAP laws, targeted restriction of abortion procedure. That's what it stands for. And what they do is, for those of you who don't know, I'll just catch everybody up on this. What they do is they'll have these really onerous regulations on abortion providers specifically. So they'll write these laws. The ceiling needs to be 15 feet high, and you need the vents to be this big, and all these things. And then the abortion providers look around and they're like, well, our ceilings aren't that high, and our vents aren't that big. And it seems like you just crafted this legislation and this regulation just to regulate us out of existence, so we have to shut down immediately because we can't meet your onerous regulations. That's exactly what it is, and that's exactly what happens, which is why you have so many states that have like one abortion clinic and, again, legislation banning it sooner and sooner. I mean, there's legislation on the books and legislation that has passed in various states that is literally just unconstitutional under Roe versus Wade. So, like, we have the precedent has been set, and they're just ignoring the precedent. They're just like, we don't care that you're saying we can't do this within the state. We're going to do it anyway. So Mike Braun's asked about this new case in front of the Supreme Court involving abortion. And his answer is basically, look, you got to leave it up to the states. I'm a states' rights guy. So, New York wants to ban abortion, New York wants to allow abortion, fine. California does, fine. But Mississippi doesn't want to. You can't force them to do it. Leave it up to the states, leave it up to the states, leave it up to the states. Now, he tries to hold by that principle when asked a phenomenal follow-up question by journalists here. And he shoves his foot directly in his mouth. Watch.
So you would be okay with the Supreme Court leaving the question of interracial marriage to the states?
Yes, I think that's something that if you're not wanting the Supreme Court to weigh in on issues like that, you're not going to be able to have your cake and eat it too. I think that's hypocritical.
What about Griswold versus Connecticut?
Well, you can list a whole host of issues. When it comes down to whatever they are, I'm going to say that they're not going to all make you happy within a given state, but that we're better off having states manifest their points of view rather than homogenizing it across the country as Roe versus Wade did.
That's amazing. He's saying interracial marriage shouldn't be the law of the land federally, nationally. There shouldn't be a protection for interracial marriage for the entire country. That's what he's saying. Leave it up to the states. Let the states decide. Mississippi wants to ban it, let them ban it. This is the argument he's making. Forgive me for being naive, for thinking that by the year 2022, people would file this one under the duh category. Like, of course, it should be protected federally. No, he says no, because states' rights. And by the way, this is actually a great history lesson too, because what a lot of people don't realize, if you have just a cursory understanding of politics, is that a lot of the racial politics in this country, they were masked under the guise of, this isn't about race, it's just about states' rights. So when this argument was trotted out previously was during segregation, where the argument coming from southern states that wanted to maintain segregation, the argument was not, we love segregation, we are pro-segregation because we are racist and want black people to be second-class citizens. That's not the argument they made. They dressed it up. They put a thin veneer of respectability over it and said, this has nothing to do with race. This has to do about states' rights. So we want to have our own sovereignty in our respective states. And the federal, big, bad, mean federal government is trying to force other values on us when we believe in the freedom within our own state to make our own decisions. Now, what they meant is, we want to have the freedom to take away the freedom of black people. We want to have the freedom to restrict liberty within our state. That's the reality of what they were asking for. But they didn't admit that. And it's a good crash course in the way a lot of odious ideas are implemented. It's always implemented under the guise of something that sounds relatively benign and sanitized and neutral. So do you support the federal government having the last say, or do you support the states to decide with their own little, laboratories of democracy? Well, if you frame it like that, some people are going to say, I think the state should decide because I want politics to be more localized. But if you explain what the real issue is underlying it, then people go, whoa, I don't want to ban interracial marriage. What are you, fucking crazy? So this is what he's saying. He's like, look, man, values don't align in a lot of the blue states and the red states, so let the red states do whatever they want to do, and if they want to ban interracial marriage, well, that's their prerogative. We got to be consistent. We can't be hypocritical. So I think abortion should be left to the states. Why shouldn't interracial marriage be left to the states? Amazing. Now, of course, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this. I think it was Loving versus Virginia was the Supreme Court case. It was, I think, 1967. And the ruling from the Supreme Court was under the 14th Amendment, you have equal protection and due process, and it would violate the 14th Amendment for states to ban interracial marriage. And, everybody looks at that now and goes, well, thank God. That was an important civil rights victory. But he looks at that and says, no, you are infringing on states' rights when you do that. Now, he did try to clean up the mess afterwards, but in my opinion, he did not do a good job. So this is from The Hill. Quote, earlier during a virtual press conference, I misunderstood a line of questioning that ended up being about interracial marriage. Let me be clear on that issue. There's no question the Constitution prohibits discrimination of any kind based on race. This is not something that is even up for debate, and I condemn racism in any form, at all levels, and by any states, entities, or individuals. But note, look at the wording there. He says, I misunderstood a line of questioning. You didn't misunderstand it. The guy pressed repeatedly to get a clear answer, and his answer was as clear as you could be. He didn't misunderstand it. He said something that is horrifically stupid and bigoted, and then now he's got to walk it back and be like, I didn't hear. I didn't hear what you said. No, you heard it, but now after you notice that, 92% of the country is against you, you're like, me? I don't even know what you guys are talking about. No. I think, of course, interracial marriage should be legal at a federal level. Well, then why'd you say the exact opposite? A spokesperson told The Hill that Braun believes in Loving versus Virginia, and he says it shouldn't be overturned. The Times of Northwest Indiana, that's the outlet that was asking the question there, noted that Braun had been asked about the subject in different ways and several times to make sure he understood the nature of the question. So in other words, the publication is saying, this is bullshit. We asked and made it clear he understood what we were saying, and he gave a clear answer. So the paper is saying, we don't believe him. He said, states' rights are more important, so they should be able to decide if they want to overturn interracial marriage. And then now after the backlash, he's just like, okay, my bad. Okay, you twisted my arm, guys. This is really not one that's debatable or open for debate. Amazing. So, this is an area where public pressure, works in the sense that when he realized, 90% of the country is like, fuck off, he's like, no, I didn't mean that. But stop and think about this. How would he have reacted if it was only 60% or 65% of the country that was annoyed with what he was saying here? Or if the backlash was only 30% less severe? What would he have done? Maybe there's no clarification. Maybe he doesn't shift his tone immediately. He let his real opinion slide there for a second. And now this is instructive. It really is. This is educational. Because now you guys know the way that these issues are discussed at a national level. Oftentimes, some of the worst beliefs and policies are masked with a veneer of respectability of this is just about states' rights. And just be on the lookout for other issues that are like this too, where the actual claim being made seems more sanitized, but the underlying reality of the policy that's being advocated for is actually toxic and odious. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.